the events in history, beginning with the transatlantic slave trade, then we're going down to the present day, and also understanding the trauma that non-whites are experiencing based on the events that has taken place. What are some ways that you can say that we as non-whites can cope with the trauma that we're experiencing?
A lot of ways is I think we should take a look at psychology. I think a lot of the sciences, such as psychology, has been so overlooked, and we look for different forms of, over the decades and generations, we've looked for forms of pacification and not actually problem solving.
EK, on behalf of the Battle Ginga platform.
Khael Karahbura Nebjari.
Fight check, Montu. And when you mean pacification, what are you referring to?
Well, certain things like, for instance, we pacify ourselves by feeling better, whether it's religious rhetoric, belonging to certain groups such as politics, or buying ourselves out of situations. We tend to buy shoes or clothing or things that make us feel good. We tend to affiliate ourselves amongst entertainment, stars, forms of art and music, things that we love and we enjoy, but we have attached ourselves to things that make us feel better, more in the sense of how you patch a wound with a Band-Aid instead of actually learning medicine to heal a lot better and different and deeply. Often find some way to temporarily pacify ourselves instead of actually getting to the root of a lot of our problems, and again, developing problem-solving skills, ideologies, methodologies that can actually produce results, long-term results, and not short-term results.
Given the realities of police brutality and attacks caused by white nationalists on non-whites, why is it that combat science is not taken serious in the time when we need it most?
As earlier, it's so many things, but trauma. Also, I think religion and conditioning over time. What I mean is, for instance, religion, there's too much of people thinking that somehow defending yourself or retaliating against a person or people who have somehow harmed you, they have, black people, I'm going to say, I'm a black person, they don't think they're going to make it into heaven. They think somehow they've been trained that another part is that they think that they are somehow cursed by this God as far as their skin color, the curse of Ham, if I'm not mistaken. Another part of that is they're afraid of true retaliation.
It would just be impractical for the Negro to turn to violence. He has neither the instruments nor the techniques of violence. We're about 10 or 11% of the total population of the nation, and I would say we're about 1/10 of the firepower. So it would just be totally impractical and unwise and unrealistic for the Negro to think of violence. Well, I saw this in the beginning.
People who have brutalized them, over time seeing things like their family being hung, burned, and we have parts of history like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and things like that.
I never want to see anything like that again.
They are machine gunned down in the street.
They're killing all of the black people.
Airplanes the morning of June 1st, flying over the city and dropping turpentine bombs.
So we can also look at other aspects as not having positive images of ourselves that we can see. You know, when you watch movies and you see people who are like you, who play pimps and murderers and prostitutes, and we identify ourselves with that, and we begin to perpetuate these stereotypes, and we don't see.
On the escalated level, we fighting for our lives.
Many years that, especially with the concept of Dr. Martin Luther King in practicing of nonviolence, and as you can see, we're still dealing with these attacks. What could you say about his mindset and his way of thinking, his what he's supposed to have been a solution? What can you say of what went wrong with his way of thinking as far as the nonviolent movement?
I don't want to quote him verbatim, but as he said, he felt as though he led us into a burning building.
These young niggas done went crazy because the elders ain't providing shit for them. Fuck pulling my pants up. Nigga, can you give me a job? You can't keep beating on the babies and you just slept, you done dropped the goddamn ball. Y'all wanted to be the peckaway. Y'all wanted to integrate into his society. You went and got the degrees. Before that, we was on some black power.
And I want to say he had a campaign, People's Poverty Campaign, if I'm not mistaken. And he actually changed his mind and changed his way. He actually had a talk with other people, other so-called leaders of the black community, especially Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X. What happened is, early on, maybe in his lifetime and career, he is what I consider a Christer, a black Christian. And in that, again, you're taught that you're inferior. You're taught that your skin color, again, is the curse of Ham, and many blacks understanding or thinking that part of the whole concept of Christianity, they identify with that. They stick with that. They stick with the concept of being put in slavery for 400 years because of certain literature, certain quotes in the Bible. So you won't see them fight. You won't see them stand up or fight. Again, as I said earlier, they will miss their chance in heaven. You hear people say certain quotes such as, we will become just like them.
Was led to nonviolence for deep moral reasons. Now, there is no doubt about the fact that in our struggle in Montgomery and all over the United States for that matter, nonviolence is also practically sound. But this wasn't the basic reason that I turned to nonviolence and that I believed in it as a philosophy. I turned to it because I felt that it was the morally excellent way to deal with the problem of racial injustice in our country.
What made you explore or notice or understand the sociopolitical aspect of white supremacy?
Growing up, my first encounter with is my mother is Christian. She became Christian and she was Baptist. And I myself growing up, I did not identify or like religion, especially Christianity. I identified more with the concept of Islam. Not that I became a part of it.
You say that there were outside influence, or was it something that you took it upon to research for yourself?
I just knew that there was something naturally wrong with this book that teaches about this God that, to me, even as a child, had flaws. You know, this God is jealous. this God made these people and all of these creations and at the same time destroyed these creations. How many times can you destroy something that you made and not admit that you made a mistake? And also growing up, I didn't understand adults having fear of an unseen entity or force. I didn't understand that.
So after you explored and understood, what were some ways that you could say that you have handled or better approached as far as how, when it comes to different individuals who are still in that mentality of holding on to the things that are enslaving them?
I gauge the person as far as I get to know their personality, so I know how to approach, and I go from there. You know, I go by age, character. I ask questions. I've learned over the years, ask questions, and then ask why, and keep asking questions before I speak. A lot of people, they have so much to say, and you'll be surprised. A lot of people, they will tell you they believe one way, but as you ask questions and they catch themselves, they'll begin to see their flawed logic. Yeah. And they'll tell you sometimes, you know, I always wondered that. And a lot of times it's fear, the reason why they don't step out of that zone. They're too comfortable in that zone, and they already have questions, but they don't have anything to back up the questions that they have. So they stay there until they find answers, or someone brings them the answers that they need. Or sometimes, unfortunately, you have to smash through people's walls.
Now, when we talk about questioning, I've heard a lot of people when it comes to not questioning what you believe. Now, would you say that that is a form of manipulation religiously, or like a tactic from slavery that has been placed upon us?
I would say both. I would say both. People have a belief, or they believe, and they use their belief as they believe. Their belief comes from the Bible, the Biblios Helios, and people don't even know what that means. You know, so they take literally this book as the word of this God in the sky, or somewhere out in the heavens, and they won't question it. Just simply out of fear. I call it the boogeyman syndrome. You know, and they don't approach things logically.
So, in other words, cognitive dissonance would be the term.
One of the things, compared to like when a child thinks that there's a monster in their closet, the cliche, you know, or there's a monster under the bed. And for me, when you have a father who...
When you stood on the Lincoln Memorial that day in August '63, and you said, I had a dream, did that dream envision that you could see a war in Asia preventing the federal government doing for the Negroes, preventing the society doing for the Negroes, is that what you think had to be done?
No, I didn't envision that then. I must confess that that period was a great period of hope for me. And I'm sure for many others all across the nation. But I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism.
In closure, I can say we've never had, and we don't understand any sense of power. we haven't practiced any power. It's been 400 plus years of being around the people who have practiced power on us, and we've not had any taste of power, especially for ourselves. So I would simply say that.
Jet fight chick. Montu.
The kind of people you attracted. I mean by that, there was a strong attachment on the part of your parishioners in Montgomery to the church. They were older people, weren't they?
Yes, I would say by and large they were older people who participated in the boycott because they were the ones using the bus more than anybody else. And Montgomery was a community predominantly church-centered, so that it was very easy to get to the vast majority of Negroes because they were in some way connected with a church in the community.
Sir, in addition to your commitment to the idea of nonviolence, wasn't it also the only thing you could do, the white community having the monopoly on violence, that if you had tried violence, they would have met it with violence? It was the only device open to you, wasn't it?
Well, I'll put it another way, that morally, I was led to nonviolence because...
It hit King on the right cheek, took out some molars, wrecked his tongue, came out between his jaws, left the body, hit his clavicle, ricocheted under the skin that covered the clavicle, nicked his carotid artery, went over his right shoulder, down across the back and lodged between the left scapula and his back skin. And the bullet never penetrated his thorax. Now that sounds a little weird, but it's not uncommon. So he bled out from the nicked carotid artery and they almost missed the shot.